Welcome back to our conversation with Jon Hurst, president of the Retailers Association of Massachusetts, about the condition and state of play of retail outlets here in the Commonwealth. And Jon, mall operators have complained that they weren't consulted at all by the governor's reopening advisory board that created the reopening plan. But did you talk about malls when you went in and pitched that board? And what is the situation with malls?
Well, yeah, sure. We talked about percentage occupancy and ways that what we've learned from our essential members, the grocers, the hardware stores, the pet supply, and so forth. All those parameters fit, whether you're a retail store on Main Street or a retailer in a mall situation. And it's about really sanitation and social distancing and keeping a lid on the number of people that are going to come in. And look, at a mall, quite frankly, consumers are going to come streaming back into a mall day one. This is going to be a step-by-step process. So we certainly talked about malls. I'm hopeful that they will be opening in phase 2. And maybe not all of the tenants will open, and maybe not all the customers will come back, but we have to start welcoming back the consumer, making sure they feel comfortable, that they know they'll be safe, but also emphasizing to them that it's important that they spend locally. We know that they've had options over the last 3 months to send their dollars around the world from their smartphone. We need them shopping and spending in our economy, our local economy, not someone else's.
I mean, Jon, the public health officials and the politicians who take their cue from them have made it clear they don't want folks to gather in crowds. I mean, they say if you go to the supermarket, just go by yourself. Don't bring your family and friends. Don't linger. Do your business and get out so we avoid this kind of crowd. Well, that's sort of antithetical to a lot of retail shopping, certainly to the mall experience, which is sort of a hangout experience. How do you see that becoming reconciled, if at all?
Well, I think it's going to be a process, a slow process coming back that the consumer's feeling both safe, but knowing that their investment locally is very important. It's going to take some education, but it's frustrating that some of these boards of health, these local officials and others, maybe they don't feel the same economic pain of these small businesses that put their whole life savings, their entire personal financial wealth and well-being, and their futures into these small businesses. And, they're living on the edge. They're close to failure. And I don't know that some of these bureaucrats, are feeling that same economic pressure. Maybe they feel like the taxpayers are going to come in and save them. But, we have to start being more balanced, looking at, yes, protecting the vulnerable, but making sure our economy can come back.
Sounds to me like what you need and what your folks need are clear, consistent rules of the road going forward. The feds have completely punted on that. The state has issued some guidelines, but you see different cities and towns that are ignoring them and going their own way. That must be a major issue.
Well, we are very concerned, Jon, that a small business has to look at like federal guidelines from the CDC, but then state parameters, and then you have local boards of health setting up their own rules and modes of compliance and enforcement, and that creates an opportunity for mistakes. It creates a whole lot of confusion. These small businesses don't have on-staff regulatory personnel. They don't have on-staff attorneys. The liability concerns there are extreme. I think we need very clear statewide rules that apply to 351 cities and towns.
Jon, take 10 final seconds to deliver a message to our viewers, perhaps to the political leaders among our viewers.
Well, we want the political leaders and the consumers to understand we need consumers to shop like jobs depend on it, because frankly, they do. And for our political leaders, their tax revenue depends on the consumer, which is 70% of the economy. Let's get the consumers re-engaged.